We have discussed this at length. The good news, like Mr. President says, is we are presenting here tonight our 8th straight year without a budget, without a tax increase. We certainly have a
8 years without a budget. Holy cow.
Hard to function without a budget.
That's it.
So as you'll see, additional services, a lot of good improvements coming in 22 without an increase. But before we get into 22, I have to take a quick peek at 2021. And what was exciting about 2021, and it was a great year when you look back. And I promised the commissioners a quick budget presentation. That was before I started to put it together. And I realized all the great stuff the commissioners did in 2021 that we have to point out. We can't gloss over because sometimes we spend years planning, years having town hall meetings with residents, years behind the scenes doing work, and so many times those efforts just aren't noticed by the residents, which is very frustrating for what we do for a living. But this year, in 2021, was the year of the visible public improvements, ones that our residents have seen, continue to see, and continue to enjoy, and we really, I believe, improved the quality of life in Hatfield Township in 2021 without question. So what did the commissioners do in 2021? Cowpath and Orvilla, a public project that the commissioners heard for years that would never happen. We'll never fix it. There's so many moving parts to it that's going to cost too much money. The commissioners are never going to get it done. We've heard for 30 years, this is never going to happen. Well, the commissioners fix it in 2021. Eyesore on Cowpath, and we're going to look through all of them, but I want to show a quick overview of the project. It's 2 minutes, bear with me. I think it's a nice recap of a project that we discussed in this room probably thousands of times. And this might be the last one, so let's give it 2 minutes just to, I think, enjoy and appreciate the efforts. And thanks to McMahon for putting this together.
Wow, that gives it, the aerial really gives it a completely different, even after we fixed it, and we've seen pictures of it many times, and even the aerial, portions of it, but to see the broader aerial, that was quite a, it's an interesting perspective, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's important to look back and to see all the things that took place to get us to the finish line. I'll never forget the decision the commissioners made back in 15 to acquire the 3 properties. Right? We heard from the residents. We struck out on a few grants. commissioners decided to move forward even without guaranteed funding to realign. But we move, and that moved us up the list, and we received funding and fixed it. It's a pretty exciting project to be a part of.
Yeah, you know, those homeowners, in addition to McMahon and our staff, you and our staff, those folks were heroes too. I mean, those were there were three, it was 3 homes, right?
3 homes and a gas station.
3 homes and the gas station, and while I don't want to minimize the gas station no longer being there, obviously, but the 3 homes, these folks, some of them had lived there for many, many years, and they left, and they worked with us, and they were just fantastic about it, and you know, there was a real understanding of the safety issues, and you could tell, they came to a number of our meetings. You could tell that they understood the import of this, and so it was a real genuine thing to see from them, and we appreciate it. They're great residents for doing that.
Granddaughter of one got to cut the ribbon. We'll see a picture of that later, thanks
Yeah.
to Tom and Bob. Yeah, no, it was great, without question. And along that same corridor, commissioners acquired a property on Cowpath, which we'd heard constant feedback about for having a dilapidated structure, an old dry cleaner, and a bike shop. Unfortunately, had to move out, and the location was vacant for years. Commissioners purchased it, and with our friends from the local 542, thanks to former Vice President Larry Hughes, was able to coordinate the demolition for these structures at no cost to the taxpayers, as well as the 3 houses on Orvilla, as well as the house on Vine that Vice President Rogers talked about earlier. Brought digital signs, upgraded our communication to our residents. As you're driving around, we went from the 1970s style to a modern look, a modern way to communicate. No more employees on a ladder putting letters out. Now we do it all through our phone. And we have 2 beautiful digital signs, one at Public Works, one at School Road Park. That is a great added feature to the township. We paved School Road Park, the parking lot, the trails, added signage to make sure people could navigate our new and very popular trail throughout the township, Frick's Trail. Vine Street acquisition, like Vice President Rogers said, all the feedback he's getting from the residents in his ward. We were able to acquire this property this year, and now it's a nice chunk of open space right by the Aquatic Center. Again, at no cost to the taxpayers, thanks to the operating engineers, Local 542. In-house employees at our Public Works Department built 2 significant pedestrian trails along the Frick's Trail that were required by DEP. We have 1 more to go. Celebrated one of our residents, Dr. Harris, turning 99, and the following week we were able to help Dr. Harris get vaccinated from COVID thanks to our partners over at Lansdale Hospital, which was pretty neat. We celebrated Anna Feingold turning 100 earlier this year with a drive-by celebration, and I'm told Anna's still doing well. She joined us on a Zoom public meeting, and we had a good time with that earlier in the year. We recognized and celebrated one of our residents, Lou Farrell, and the organization he began with Bread Drop, making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the homeless. And unfortunately, more people are in need because of the impacts of COVID. We welcomed and invited and recognized Super Mac, Dr. Mayank Amin from Skippack Pharmacy, and his team of volunteer heroes who vaccinated tens of thousands of people throughout our region, and were real big help with many efforts of ours throughout the year. Celebrated a Garden of Health partnership with 8 additional acres at Clemens Park, and the commissioners then leased that 8 acres to the Garden of Health, a local nonprofit who are going to grow produce for low-income families throughout our region to have access to healthy foods. It's going to look a little something like this over the next 10 years. Not only produce, but greenhouses and other features, educational seminars, volunteer opportunities, partnerships with the local schools. There's a lot of great ideas that Garden of Health has for that space that the commissioners leased. We recognized Sheikh Anwar Muhammad and celebrated Juneteenth together as a community, and just recently opened the Hatfield Museum, which Larry Stevens and his team at the Historical Society transformed an aging building into a modern, if that makes sense, a modern museum. But I think everyone that has been through there has been impressed, and we can encourage many more to go see it. We invested $750,000 into paving roads throughout the township, making more accessible routes. This is a quick look at 11-year snapshot of all the roads now we paved in Hatfield, and you see a lot of colors. Keep in mind, too, some of our major corridors, 40-foot in Orvilla, as well as Welsh, and some others are owned by the state, Unionville owned by the county. So the impact is clear when you look at that, and the commitment by the commissioners to pave and fix our infrastructure has been there for many years now. So looking at the 22 budget, quick snapshot of the organizational chart. The ultimate decision makers in every local government are our residents. Residents vote an award system here in Hatfield and choose 5 commissioners who then appoint the township manager and the consultants, and then it trickles down from there throughout the organization. We have many appointed boards here in Hatfield: the Sewer Authority, Civil Service, Parks and Rec, Planning, Zoning Hearing Board, Pool Advisory Board, Shade Tree Commission, the EAC, the IDA, the North Penn Health Hospital and Education Authority, the North Penn Water Authority, which is represented by Vice President Rogers now, and a vacancy board. So all those boards appointed by our elected officials here in Hatfield. When you look at our budget for 22, the priorities are abundantly clear. The commissioners want to make sure our community is safe. Roughly 60% of the budget goes toward police and fire protection. In addition, significant investments in infrastructure improvement, more investment in the stormwater management we'll talk about. A lot of programming, as you saw, as you heard Commissioner Zimmerman's update from tonight. That's just a quick snapshot of what goes on in December here. It's like that every month. So looking ahead in 22, general fund revenue, about 11.7, expenditures 11.6. Every fund overseen by the township, it equals roughly $17.5 million worth of revenue, with expenses somewhat under that. So those are all every penny that is spent in Hatfield Township, and we'll talk some of the highlights here. By the way, keep in mind the entire budget is available on the website as well as in the lobby, which that outlines every fund, every line, every penny spent, and every penny collected throughout the township. We're not gonna go through it all tonight, but we did in our first workshop for the budget. So where does all this money come from? Primarily real estate taxes, earned income taxes, local service tax from the state of Pennsylvania, and from our partner, our municipal partner of Hatfield Borough. So what that looks like in a pie chart view is this. The majority of the revenue is real estate, and you see the earned income in red, and then it goes down from there. The intergovernmental is Pennsylvania, with pension aid, money for infrastructure, and then Hatfield Borough contributes significantly for police services, as well as for debt service. Where does it go? So that's where it comes in, that's where it comes from. We'll talk about specifically where it goes, but just keep in mind a snapshot of your property taxes. Only 10% of it comes to the township. So when you're paying your property tax bill, 10% comes to the township, 10 goes to the county, and by far the lion's share, 80%, goes to the school district, and that's pretty consistent in every community throughout Pennsylvania. So some examples of real estate payments to the township. Median assessed value is $149,000 in Hatfield. So if you look at $140,000 assessed value, that doesn't mean the value of your home if you would sell it. That's your assessed valuation. You're paying Hatfield $365 for the year for all the services that we provide. The earned income tax is 0.5%. The other half of that percent goes to the school district. You look at our expenses, like I said, the lion's share of this is always going to be for the police. Our first priority is to keep the community safe. From there, it's public works with the infrastructure, fire protection, and administration, among other items. This is just a quick snapshot of where your total tax dollar goes. Not just real estate, not just local income tax, but state income tax as well as your federal income tax. So this is just based on a scenario of a household with $63,000, 483 income, and at the median assessed value for a home in Hatfield Township. So it just gives the residents a sense of all of your tax dollars going out. You see Hatfield Township at that 7% sliver, right? You see the school district here and the federal government here. But we're gonna show you for that little sliver some of the services that you get. So for a total tax picture of $729 a year, a resident in Hatfield gets a fully accredited, now 3-time police department, fire protection from 2 very active and thriving volunteer fire departments, 12 employee public works department to take care of our infrastructure, snow removal, stormwater maintenance, road paving, lane painting, all the traffic signals like we talked about, bridges, basins, a lot of mowing, Parks and Rec staff and programming, an award-winning aquatic center named the best in Montgomery County several times, significant sized park, which hopefully we'll be able to expand one day soon, Clemens Park, which we'll be developing here soon, and I'll have a picture of that right here. Excuse me, if awarded, some outstanding grants that we have. What I talked about with Garden of Health, you'll see at number 3. In addition, a public bathroom at number 2, an inclusive playground at number 1, a redesigned naturalized basin at 5, and additional parking at 4. We hope to begin these improvements in 2022. Schweiker Park, jointly owned with Hatfield Borough. Also this year, we resurfaced the pickleball courts, which was a very successful project. We met with several residents earlier tonight with President Zipfel, and many of them belong in the league and play pickleball. Walnut Street Cabin, Tree Nursery, Melody Brook Park, a nature preserve, Stratford Park, a dog park, an arboretum, street hockey, open space, a trail, another great trail. So all of those things for a $729 investment from a median resident in Hatfield Township. I ask you to compare what you get back from every other level of government, and you tell me what you think is the best value. Some of the highlights looking forward to 2022. We talked about the no tax increase. Overall expenses, thanks to the commissioners, we were able to contain many costs. Increase is only 1%. Pension costs down significantly thanks to some good decisions made over the years by the pension committee and some very significant market gains in 2019 and 2020. Helped us reduce the cost of our pensions. Both pension funds 100% funded for the first time in over 30 years here in Hatfield. Almost $1 million in the roads. New playgrounds coming to School Road Park and the community park and Clemens Park if we get the grant. A new and exciting mural that we hope to unveil to the public next month, electronically, digitally here in the room, and then will be painted next year. We'll talk more about that next month. Stormwater management study, Vice President Rogers asked to include in the budget. We have $100,000 to look at the entire township and find our trouble spots as far as how we manage water, and from there create a capital plan on them we can pursue to make some significant fixes. 200 grand into a reserve fund, which we began in 14 and now has almost $1 million. Then the American Recovery Act money, which was stimulus money given to all government entities, which Hatfield will receive $1.7 million that primarily will then, at the direction of the commissioners, go back into stormwater management improvements throughout the township. So the timing of that was pretty good as far as having now a study, having funds to actually implement some of the findings of the study. It all worked out. Certainly wasn't planned that way. Some other special projects coming our way in 2022. These are the grant applications we currently have submitted. We should be hearing something about the first one this week that we can publicly announce. The design to come up with a solution on to making Welsh and Orvilla a better intersection. We partner with Menson Township, so all costs associated with that project will be shared between the two municipalities. Clemens Park development we talked about. Liberty Bell Trail construction, we hope to hear about that application as well, to build a portion of that, which we actually talked about with some of the Tarrington folks earlier tonight. So if that's awarded, that's a 22 project as well. And then we have been in constant communications with Pima and several of Commissioner Lee's residents who are really struggling with when we get heavy rain events. So we're going to do our best to possibly acquire or mitigate somehow. Also coming in 2022, and Commissioner Andrews might throw something at me now because this one's been on the budget presentation for years, but we did receive almost $1 million grant to synchronize every signal along the 463 corridor, so 40-foot in CalPath, 11 signals in total. We've been going very slowly through the process of implementing this, but the fiber is very close to being connected to all the fiber optic line to all 11 signals. So we'll be able to, in 22, they'll be communicating with each other. We'll be able to move traffic through that corridor more efficiently. which is very exciting, and we've been working on that for years, and Commissioner Andrus kicked the process off many years ago. Another project that everyone said would never happen is happening. The bids came in for and this is a PennDOT project, for the 309 Sumneytown Connector Road. Alan Myers, low bidder, $42 million, recently awarded, begins in 2022. This is to take truck traffic out of our local roads and get them to the turnpike as fast as you can. Phase 2, which you see on the screen, is coming our way. It's a 5-6 year construction timing, but it is out there, it's happening. You'll start to see some activity out there next year. So what happens now, commissioners, if we move forward with this? And again, this is toward the end of a process that begins months ago and happens throughout the year. It'll be that the budget itself and every line item for any resident to review and scrutinize and ask questions is available online, is available in this packet tonight, also available in the lobby. We have one meeting in December for the board to approve the budget. And just lastly, nice picture of the granddaughter you mentioned, Mr. President, who got to cut the ribbon. We as a staff and commissioners, we are honored to have our positions here and be able to serve this community, and we'll never take that for granted, and thank you for the opportunity.